Hey, welcome to this evening. We have a good show lined up for tonight. All things business book review. We're so excited, and we want you guys, if you can, share this across your platforms and with family and friends before we get started. If you can send it out if you'd like to, that'd be great. I'm so excited. In the studio today, we have Mr. Bob Myers from Reno, Nevada, and Ms. Kathryn Williams from Sacramento, California. And we're so excited reviewing the book, Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Now, Napoleon Hill's first book was called Think and Grow Rich, what a lot of people know. This book was actually never published until it was hidden since 1938 and revealed now for modern day readers. So we're going to go through this. The audio is kind of cray-cray because it sounds like, I don't know what the devil sounds, but it's really, spooky. But we're going to go through chapters 4 and 5 today. Let me repeat that. We're going to go through chapters 4 and 5 today. And with that said, let's bring in our guest that's going to be joining us today on today's call. Mr. Bob Myers, how you doing?
Great, Mr. Thomas. Great to be on with you. Thank you, sir.
Great. Miss Kathryn Williams, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Well, great. We're just going to dive right into it. You know, we got chapters 4 and 5 today, and it's called Drifting with the Devil in chapter 4. And I'm going to start off there in chapter 4. I'm going to go to page 72. And I'm going to ask the second question on the page. Those who got their book, you can follow with us. That's what I'll give you the page number. It says, so his Majesty, the devil, fears a mere humble, earthbound creature. Is that right? And the answer, it says, I'm going to go down a little bit further here. In the answer, it says, for millions of years, I have dominated earthbound creatures through fear and ignorance. Wow. And this book goes into detail what he uses to throw people off from being successful and some of the tricks that he used throughout the decades. He says for millions of years, he's used fear and ignorance. So let's do this, Mr. Bob Myers. What do you want to say about that part of the book?
You know what I get out of it, Mr. Thomas, is that it's actually the first indication that the devil doesn't have complete control over us, that we have the tools and we can develop the skills to refute him and to limit his power. In fact, overpower him, because that's what happened to the author. He got in there and did that and really created this great book for us because of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, very good, sir. Miss Kathryn Williams, you want to chime in on what you got out of that?
I agree with Mr. Myers. It's a book that encourages us and demands of us to use our brains and to think, because otherwise the devil has control.
Yeah, so true. And a lot of times we don't even realize we're manipulated by the devil because we do it enough that we don't realize, take the moment to stop and think through it. I'm going to run over to page 73, one of the answers here, and it says, a drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind. What do you guys think about that?
You know, Mr. Thomas, fear and ignorance is the devil's main tools. And so we've already got a look at what's going on. And the crazy thing is that it has been given, you know, the ability to overcome both. We both have the ability to overcome that. Fear can be tough. I mean, without a doubt, it can be tough to overcome. And ignorance, we can overcome through, you know, knowledge, and then applying that knowledge and putting it into action. That's where we can really succeed in here. And that's the nugget I got out of it.
Wow. Miss Williams, you want to chime in on that one?
And the other thing I got out of this is the fact that we accept life at times for whatever reason without thinking about why we accept it. And we don't think for ourselves. We let others drop everything into our brains.
That is a good comment. You know, also part of that same segment there, it says a drifter is one who accepts whatever life throw in his way or her way without making a protest or putting up a fight. They just go along with whatever is dished out. And it says they spend their whole life letting life push them around. You want to comment on that, Mr. Myers?
Yes. Unfortunately, you know, the world has become better at greater things to stimulate the brain. And so through that non-production, it leaves all of this openness for the devil to come in and take over power on us. That's why it's so important that we move through, that we take our plan, our day, that we find the goals that we want to get to, and we start moving towards those, not only in our mind, but implementing them throughout in our power and what we do.
Good, very good. Ms. Williams?
And adding to that we don't let others influence our opinion and tell us how to think.
That's very good, because a lot of times I know a lot of parents vicariously want to live their life through their children because they weren't completely living their lives on their own. So then I want to take, guide, and direct them as well. Also, it says that here, Mr. Meyer just talked about how the brain is. And it says also here, a drifter is one who's too lazy mentally to use their own brain. Wow. That was amazing. I'm going to go on page 75 at the top. The question says, tell me of the most common habits by which you control the minds of people. So they're asking the devil this question, and the answer he put down is those mostly used for me to help control people's minds is fear, superstition, greed, lust, revenge, anger, vanity, and plain laziness. Although one of more of these I could use to enter the mind, and at any age, he starts, any age. And he says, I get my best results when I take charge of a mind while it's still young. Wow. Mr. Myers.
Yeah, boy, definitely when they're young, when that mind, it hasn't really developed, it hasn't started creating its own destiny, its own purpose. It's still being influenced by everybody around them. But really, most of those powers that he talks about there are, to me, are all inner looking. And it's all about inner looking. And that's where we get messed up, because if we start thinking outside of ourselves, the places we want to go, the people we want to help, the things that we want to accomplish, that's where the devil can't live, because we are moving forward and creating something that he can't stop. And so I thought that was really a powerful message.
Very powerful. Ms. Williams?
And adding on to what Mr. Meyer said, the power also comes in people wanting to see anger, revenge. They use it every day, and they adults do it in front of their kids, and the kids learn that it's okay. The sports parent that goes out and yells at the coach, yells at the referee, the kids think it's okay. They think that's normal, and it's not. Yeah.
I was reading some book recently where it said most children learn 80% of their habits at a young age before they hit 7. And that's where the devil takes over, because once you get them there, it takes psychology ourselves. It takes us 21 days to rethink or rewire the way we think. When we move to a new house, apartment, or whatever, it takes us 21 days to create a new way of thinking. He also says in here, and I'll go to page 75, number 5. It says, you make it your business. This is the question. He says, you make it your business to train children in habits of drifting by including them to go through school without an aim or purpose. So he throws kids off without an aim or purpose, just to go through the formalities without a deep understanding of what they want to be. Mr. Myers, what do you think when you read that?
You know, I went a little bit farther, even into where it talks about the schooling and the way that we're kind of, in essence, trained. And it reminded me of a story back when I was in high school. I had a friend, Tony. He had a big dissertation. The guy was amazingly smart. And he wanted to do something on Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which was done by the Beatles. And the teacher fought him, saying that she was going to give him a non-passing grade for it. And yet he came through, he used his own mind, developed that, and brought it back into the fold and got an A+ on that. So it just shows me that no matter what the outside sources are, that if you truly take control of your mind, you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, that's powerful. Take control of your mind. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. and also with support. Miss Williams, what do you think about that?
And spinning off what Mr. Meyer said, in school, if you don't follow the regiment by the time you're in second grade, by the time you're ready to graduate from high school, you have hit that point, if you're not using your brain, that it's like, I don't know what I want. And I have worked with people who went into a profession because they were dictated to by their parents to go into that profession. And it's so devastating because there's no love for the profession.
Yeah. Yeah. Second part of that, it says his answer was, my second best trick. This is the devil answering. The devil says, my second best trick is developing the habits of drifting, is one that I put into operation with the aid of parents. This is what we just said, parents and the public school teachers and the religious instructors. Wow. Mr. Myers.
Yes, that's definitely true. And I think for some reason, everybody wants to put everybody in a box. And so they stifle your inner power, your inner brain. We were created with an amazing brain. And when we limit that, it puts us into a state of feeling like, well, we can't achieve anything, we can't move forward. And by breaking through that, breaking out of that box is where really the true joy, your purpose starts to happen, and you can really start achieving.
I like that. Yeah, break it out so you get to your purpose. So important. Some people go through life and never figure out what their purpose is. You know, in the book I came out with, God's Gift, it's talking about we all have at least 3 gifts, but a lot of people drift so much they don't ever find their purpose. Miss Williams, what was your thought on what Mr.
My thought goes back to one of my sons who we later found out purely by accident that he had a photographic memory when he was we found it out when he was in his 40s. But he was nothing but a challenge in school because he picked up stuff so fast and got bored. And rather than try to figure out why he was getting bored, he ended up dropping out of school and getting a degree finally, but never got a degree. This kid could have been a scientist, but didn't have the basis for it because school told him he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be, sitting there answering questions for an hour in class.
Yeah, it's amazing how they put us in a box or put a label on us. ADD and all this other stuff, labels, and they just don't take the time because each child is different. But they want to, if you're this, you put you in this box. Everything's got a label to it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and it's like I couldn't believe how label everything they talked about was they put people in a box and on a label. It's so bad. I'm going to go to page 80. The question they asked the devil this question. It seems that you go out of your way to keep people from thinking. And the answer was from the devil, yes. Through their thoughts to the death of him. He says, I cannot exist in the minds of those who think accurately. Let me say that again. He cannot exist in the minds of those people who think accurately. I do not mind people thinking as long as they think in terms of fear. There it is. Discouragement, hopelessness, and destructiveness. Wow. What do you got to say about that, Mr. Myers?
Boy, that is so true. But I think on the flip side of that is that through living and starting to think through your thoughts, you can overcome those things. And not only does it happen in your mind, but it actually transforms into your body. And you get this kind of euphoria. You just know you're on the right track. You know you're moving through it. And it elevates you to a different level. And so I think that truly takes that. It's when you start taking his power away is when that happens.
Yeah, that's so true. Take his power away. Miss Williams?
Not only that, but he goes on and points out that courage, faith, hope, and purpose are his opponent's strengths. And he had said earlier, the devil had said earlier, he's the negativity in all the world. And it's true. Everything he uses and does and tries to get people to do are negative thoughts. And yes, his opponent does push all the positivity there is in the world.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing if I said think of three people, we all can think of three people. Their whole life is negative, negative, negative.
Mhm.
What do you
Right.
think? There's no positive. It's always negative, and they wonder why they're so controlled by the devil. Now I'm gonna go to page 82. The question on 82 to the devil was this: is a question. I was under the impression that the purpose of all schooling was to help children to think, and the devil's answer was that may be the purpose of schooling. Listen to this, but the system in most of the schools of the world do not carry out the carry out those purposes. School children are taught not to develop and use their own minds, but to adopt. Listen to this: to adopt and use the thoughts of others. Wow, this sort of schooling destroys the capability for independent thought. Oh my God, he's giving all the answers up. What do you got to say about that one, Mr. Myers?
Absolutely did. And I don't know why it is that the school system's structured the way it is, but it does. It puts you into a corridor. They want you to think like they do. They want you to come up with the same answer. They want you to use the same things. They stifle your creativeness, your energy, and that's truly what not only made humanity but made America was reaching outside the box. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like we've become. They're trying to turn us into employees. They
Yeah,
don't want us to think outside the box.
it's a form of control.
Mhm.
Stay in
Yeah.
line, color within the lines. It's about being in control. What would you say, Miss Williams?
Your comment about staying in the lines. When the children are in kindergarten, first, second grade, and they color outside the lines, the teacher said, "You're not doing what you're supposed to be." And at the same time, I think back to when I was in high school, it was like if you were a female, these were the courses you took, and you took on a female role of a secretary or something like that. But if you wanted to take the science courses, you wanted to take the math courses because that's the route you wanted to take. Oh my God.
Yeah, home ed. I remember home ed for women. All the women took home ed.
Right.
They put you
And
in that box.
the guys all had to take shop.
Take wood shop. I remember those
Yep.
mechanic shop, wood shop. Man, God,
Yep.
I remember that. Isn't that
Yep.
amazing? Now I'm going to go to page 85, and the question at the bottom of the page says, "If I asked the devil this," and the question: I conclude from what you said that drifting and procrastination are the same. Is that true? And here's how the devil answered it: yes, this is correct. I don't know why I'm sounding that way. Yes, this is correct. Any habit which causes one to procrastinate, to put off reaching a definite decision, leads to the habit of drifting. Wow, Mr. Myers.
Boy, that is true. And I mean, I think anybody can experience. I mean, you get involved, you're watching the TV or something or doing something like that, and you kind of zone out. And at
Yeah.
the end of the program, you're lucky if you can even remember 10% of it because your mind just kind of drifts off. It drifts. You start drifting, you start daydreaming, and you're not challenging your mind to grow, to move forward. And so it really is. I, the book really brings out how important your mind is and how powerful it is.
Mhm.
Yeah. Miss Williams?
Not only, and you pointed this out, Mr. Myers, you get on, and it doesn't have to be a TV program. It can be you get to scrolling through Facebook or something else, and before you know it, an hour has flown by. And what have you gained? Probably nothing. And you've lost control of your time and your mind. Or you'll put something off because, quote, I can get it done better when I'm under pressure. Well, not necessarily,
That's true.
because you're not thinking as clearly as if you had started earlier and got it done.
It's so amazing how much time we waste on mindless things where we could be programming our mind for successful things and to do more for our families, you know. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do a little bit more on page 86 at the top. Said the devil. He said this: I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them because they're too lazy, too indifferent to think for themselves. He says I use laziness, indifference, procrastination, and drifting. Those four, wow. Mr. Myers.
Yes, definitely drifting. Drifting, a drifter is really someone that takes no responsibility for anything he does. He is blaming everybody. He's blaming the government, the system, his circumstances, everything around him. And yet, everything that's happened to him, he has a power to change that. And so that's what's so unique about that section is that we're starting to learn that we have ultimate control over everything that happens to us, how we respond and what we do.
So true. Ms. Williams?
And not only do we have ultimate control over it, but due to procrastination, due to laziness, people that drift blame others and then do things like, I hate my boss, but to the face, they kiss up to their boss all the time.
Good point.
They complain about the government, but they don't have an answer to a problem. They complain that their streets are never cleaned or their garbage isn't picked up on time, but they don't figure out why. They complain about everything, but don't have a solution. Just don't do it in my neighborhood.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good point. I'm going to go to page 91 and get into the thick of this. This is really good on page 91. A question they asked the devil on page 91, halfway down the page. And the question is, go ahead and describe a typical drifter. Give me a description point by point so I can recognize a drifter when I see him. Now watch this. Here's the answer. This is what he says. The devil says this. The first thing you will notice about a drifter is their total lack of major purpose in life. Wow. He said this. He will become lack of self-confidence, will never accomplish anything requiring thought or effort, ding, 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 will spend all their earnings and do more of nothing. And if they can get credit, they will lack, they will be sick, ailing, and some use imagination cause of things that stopping them physically, that they have pain and they don't have it. He said they will have little or no imagination. I mean, that's just, I can think of two people that I always talk about them. They're always sick. They always got something going on why they can't do this, why they can't do that. And it's all procrastination. Mr. Myers.
That's so true. That's so true. A drifter is he's just sliding along. Like I say, he doesn't take any ownership, doesn't move anything. And what's great about this section is it really gives us some of those key attributes so that we can take an inner look at our life and go, hey, you know what? I see a little bit of that in me. I see some of this in me. Those are things that we can take and we can turn around because we have a mind that we can do whatever we want if we put in the commitment and the dedication to get it done.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good answer. Miss Williams?
As I went through this list of, 25 or 30 things, there were several of them that jumped out at me. And one of them is the drifter thinks they're a jack of all trades, but they're a master of none.
Ooh.
They make the same mistake over and over. And if you look at the physical weight of people in the United States, they're overeating and under-exercising. And then they want to know why they have pain all the time. It's self-inflicted by not using their brain to say, oh, that's what's going on. And they kiss up to their boss. As I said earlier, many of them kiss up to their boss.
Yeah, I love that. Also, it talks about they take the line of least resistance, or things the easy way, or they're ill-tempered and lack control over their own emotion. They get so emotional like this. I mean, they just fly off the handle because they're out of control. He says their personalities are without magnetism, and they don't know how to attract good people towards them. And he also says that they're very opinionated, and they don't believe in accumulating knowledge of how they can grow. Now, I love what he says on page 93 about describing of a non-drifter. Now, here we go. And the question was asked the devil, you've given me a graphic description of the drifter. Please now describe a non-drifter so that I can recognize him on sight or her on sight. him or her was like, okay. And this is what he gave his answer was. The first sign of a non-drifter is this. He or she always engaged in doing something, defining through some well-organized plan, which is definite. So they have a plan, and they have the major goals in life toward what they want to accomplish at work, minor goals, and all things that lead toward their center. They have lead them toward a center of a scheme that they have something they want to accomplish. So they have goals. Mm-hmm. They don't have time to waste. They're goal orientated. How'd you guys like that?
Boy, I loved it. I think it really sets everything up. And for me, what I got out of that was a non-drifter is really like your superhero, that inner person inside of you that is positive. He knows where he's going. He's got a plan. He's confident in who he is. And he's moving forward, and not in a bad way. He's doing it with humility and integrity and honor, and he's bringing whoever he wants along with him. Because I think a true non-drifter is someone that not only serves himself, but he serves the world. He serves the community around him.
Wow.
I think that is the key to it. That is the exciting part of it.
Wow. Ms. Williams?
He or she provides inspiration, and they always lead from the front. They take blame for things that may not be their fault, but they don't say it that it's their downline's fault or their sideline's fault. They take responsibility for things. The other thing is that they have a quick step, they make a fast decision, and they stick to their decision.
That's so true. It's also, I was reading a little bit further, and it says they don't blame others. They take 100% responsibility, right or wrong or indifference. They also are go-getters. Mm-hmm. They also are goal setters. They're running large businesses in town. They're living in the best streets. They drive the best automobile. They make the best, they make decisions, like you said, Ms. Williams. They stick to it. And they're inspiring other people and encouraging other people that they too can do it. Mm-hmm. Their mind is used for a purpose, and it's purpose driven. I love that.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I love that.
It just describes you guys. And it says they use their own mind and they think for themselves, and that's important. Wow. So I love that part. Their mind, they live on purpose. They live on purpose. I'm going to go over to chapter 5. Let's go to chapter 5. I'm going to go over to page 100. And it says on page 100, said the devil, I cannot control you because you have discovered your own mind and you have taken charge of it. This divine knowledge is the blow in which you can deal with him and do some great damage to the devil, because if you take control, he can't take that away from you. Once you make what I call a decision.
Right. And that is so powerful, because it all starts at that decision, but through that and through your mind and through your plan, you can connect with other people. And as you build those people around you, helping them, I mean, they might all have different goals and dreams than you. They probably do. But together, you control that space. The more space you control, the greater impact you have, and the harder it is for the devil to get back inside of you. I mean, there's unity, and that's what counts.
Yeah.
There's also positivity, because by not letting the devil in your mind and showing others how to use their mind and think for themselves, it decreases the devil's opportunity to get into the group's mind.
Yeah, that's a good point too. You know, I was reading here a little further. It says he operates through two of the most common human weaknesses. The two most common weaknesses of a human beings is vanity and your ego. Wow. And you can't use that with non-drifters. Mm-mm. But with drifters, he says that's the two major things he uses. Wow. I'm going to pop over a little bit over on page 111. And the question on page 111 says, what do you use as a bribe? So the devil uses a lot of bribes. And here's what he says. Here's some of the bribes that he used. He used love, okay, the thirst for sex expression, for money, for desires of gain, for something for nothing, like gambling, and vanity in women and ego in men. Those are the things he brides us with. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And if you notice that that's all inward centered again. It's all about us. It's about our feelings. It's about us. It's about how we want to perceive everything. And that's where he gets the edge on us. Because when we start thinking inwardly, we lose the power of our mind. We lose the power of our destiny, our greatness, our purpose in life.
Wow, that's good, Mr. Myers. Miss Williams?
We also lose our positivity. We lose our sense of who we are and anything good or positive. And then we flip back into laziness and procrastination.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, procrastination
Definitely.
is used these days, especially after what we just went through the last couple of years being locked down, you know. I'm going to go to page 115, and this is what he says about non-drifters, which I love. Non-drifters take from life whatever he/she wants. Let me repeat that. Non-drifters take from life whatever he or she wants, but he takes it on his own terms or her own terms. A drifter takes whatever they can get, but they take what they get on my terms, said the devil. Wow. What do you guys say? Whew. Wow. That's
Definitely a non-drifter picks his goals. He picks his destination and he heads for it. And he like I say, he just doesn't go out there and rape and pillage. He goes out there and does it with integrity, with honor, with kindness, with service oriented. And through that, he creates his really inner self that starts feeding to his purpose, his being, and where he wants to get, and the things that he wants to change. It might not necessarily all be about him. It could be, his community. It could be the world, or whatever goals they have. It can just blossom into amazing things, to be honest.
yeah. Wow. Thank you, Miss Williams.
It goes on in that same paragraph and says the non-drifter borrows legitimately from legitimate banks and pays and the drifter goes to the pawn shop and it costs him a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And I like that analogy because it's like the entrepreneur versus the non-entrepreneur. It's like the entrepreneur thinks for themselves. The 9-to-5ers, the W-2ers, we need them, but God forbid, many of them don't think. If the employer says sign the following 6 pages, they sign them and never read them. Yeah. Because the boss said so.
Be in control again. On page 116, the last paragraph says, the last sentence is about non-drifters. Do your own thinking on all occasions. Non-drifters do their thinking on all occasions across the board, whether it's health, spiritual, physical, mental, working, everything. They're outside the box. In other words, they're outside the box thinkers.
Yeah. Right. I mean, the magic truly is in not only the thinking, but the doing, picking the life, envisioning that, where you want to go, designing your desires, and then building the plan. And then the only variable in that is time. And naturally, at that point, you got to maximize your time. And that's what the devil wants to do. He's trying to steal your time away so that you slide back into this abyss. And if we manage our time correctly and push forward through all those things, we will achieve our goal.
Yeah, that's great.
And in the process of achieving goals, we also realize that there's going to be problem areas, but they're not problems. We slide back, we fall, we get up again. But every time we fall, we figure out why we fell, and we learn from that experience. We grow from that because we know that a fall is not a fall. A fall is a learning experience.
Temporary.
And very temporary.
very much so. On page 117, I love this part. It says number 8, he goes, when you pray, do not beg. Demand what you want and insist upon getting exactly what you want without any substitute. Recognize that life is a cruel taskmaster and that either you master it or it masters you. Wow. Wow, Mr. Myers.
Absolutely. And that is so true. And that happens to anybody, whether you were just born or whether you're the most wealthy man in the world. There is always going to be challenges. There's always going to be you against the world and the tasks and what has to happen. And through determination, dedication, and that follow through the plan, you're going to get to where you want to go. You're going to be able to take those tasks back away from him. You're going to overcome the things that he throws at you, and you're going to do it with style.
Just wait there with style.
With style. I like that. I like that. With style, because yes, you will do it with style, because you know that you can do it and you're doing it by thinking through the problem, thinking through whatever was not a positive and finding out why it was not a positive and turning it into a positive.
Right. You know, I love that answer. Turn to a positive. And it also says, to kind of complete this sentence, it says, never accept from life anything you do not want. And I think drifters settle. They settle. They're at a job. They didn't plan on being there, but 2 years, now there's been 15. They're in a situation in a marriage or relationship. They didn't plan on being there that long, but now they've been there so long, it's just like they just settled. So a lot of times they settle, but he says, never accept from life anything you do not want. And a lot of drifters accept whatever life pushes their way, and it pushes them off track. What do you got to say about that, Mr. Myers?
Boy, that's absolutely true. And it gets back to, like they say, drifting or non-drifters, is that you have to have a plan in place. You have to begin with, you got to know where you want to go. You can't get somewhere that you don't know where you're going. You got to put that plan in place. And is it going to be perfect? Are things going to go the way you want it to all the time? Never. There will be ups and downs. There will be roadblocks. There will be minefields. But through it all, if you take those things and grow with them, you will be so excited about the person on the other side of that. I'm telling you.
What you grow into becoming. That's right. Miss Williams?
I think of the people that say, I can't start a business because I've got to pay for the kids' education. I got to pay for this bill, that bill, something else. Not realizing that starting that business will be the beginning of something more and more that can produce something a whole lot better than they got than if they take on 2 jobs or 3 jobs.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to end it on last thing on chapter 5 before we go to chapter 6. It says, be careful what your thoughts dwell upon. I'm going to talk about this for a second. I was chatting with a friend the other day and wrote a book. I said, well, when's your book coming out? Well, I've been working on it for 20 years. I go, it's not a book. That's just a thought. You're not blessing and helping anybody. You can't change anybody's lives if you keep thought. It's a thought. You got to put it into action. And that's what it's about. It's about changing other people's lives. So to me, I didn't say it, but I say that's just a thought. So be careful what your thoughts dwell upon, and then move into action, folks, out there around the world. Move into action. We're going to jump to page 6, chapter 6 right now. And in chapter 6, I'm going to move through here. I'm going to go to page 123. Said the devil, and I quote, those who control and use their own mind escape my web. Aha, there you go. Escape my web.
Absolutely. And what it really tells us is that he really doesn't have any control over someone that is setting their own destiny, that is creating their own fortune, their own life. He can only attack the people that are lethargic, that are lazy, that are just hanging on the edge and going, oh, you know what? That's not up to me. It's not my problem. It's not this. It's not that. The people that are decisive in what they do is what he fears the most.
Mm-hmm. Going after low-lying fruit. There you go. Miss Williams?
And he also talks about the decisive people that he talks about in these chapters about how the United States is so different from the dictatorships that were going on when this book was originally written, and how the dictators took over because people didn't think.
Mm-hmm.
But the United States was founded on thinkers and continues to be based on thinkers. And as long as we keep thinking, he can't win.
That's right. And we need thinkers like more than ever before. We need them today. Trust me. I mean, we all know that because things have changed. I'm going to go to page 126, and the question is said to the devil, do you not only fool people into destroying their power to control their own mind, but you see them you use them to help you trap others? And here's the devil's answer. Yes, I let no opportunity get away from me. Wow.
Yes, he's definitely ruthless, and the book really portrays it that way, especially the audio. But what it tells me is that not only do we have an obligation to ourselves and to be in our right mind, to build those goals and dreams and to move forward, but we also serve as as a leader for someone else. And if we do not lead, others will fail because of us. Now, doesn't mean everybody's going to follow us, because they all have their own mind. They can always choose to move forward or not. But if they do, can you imagine the difference you can make when you can bring 10, 20, 50 people along you as you move through this and start to create the life that you've always dreamed of, and they do the same thing? That's powerful.
That's powerful, Mr. Meyer. Very powerful.
And it sets the example for the next generation how to use their mind. You use your mind, you bring people along, you share it with not only your children, but their children. And we develop another generation of thinkers that the devil can't get to.
Now, I'm going to thank you, dear. Thinkers. That's my next subject. I'm going to talk about thinkers on page 125. So the question in the second from the bottom of the page says, since you claim the churches help instead of hindering your cause, tell me, what would you give you the cause to worry? The devil, what will give you cause to worry? And here's the answer. The devil says, my only worry is that someday a real thinker may appear on earth. The day after Easter here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's true, though, because thinking through that and moving forward is what's going to make the difference. You can either, like Kathryn said, you can either lead by example, or you can lead by failure. But when you do that, when you pull back, people tend to get lost. Mm-hmm. They're looking for someone to guide them. They're looking for someone to help them move forward. And I think we all need to have leaders in our lives, like you, Mr. Thomas. By pushing forward through that, it helps us to grow, to expand our mind, to do better at what we're doing. And that's what the devil doesn't want us to do. He wants to hold us down.
Yeah. Miss Williams? Yeah, he definitely won't hold us down.
Yes, and I think it's real coincidental that we're talking about real thinkers arriving here on Earth the day after Easter is very true. Yes, as thinkers, we have fewer fears. We don't fear for poverty. We don't fear for ill health. We think of prosperity and abundancy and success.
I like that. Success and abundancy. So true. Now, on page 129, this is kind of unique. He talks about when you find a great love in a woman of your choice, he says, I lose my grip on you. Isn't that or it could be a man. I can lose my grip on you. My little curveball in there.
I think that's true, and I think like you said, it could be. I think what's really talking about, and he uses woman is woman. I'm sure he's talking about his wife. Actually, is after reading the book a few times, but because they were so together on this book and certain things, but it's having that partnership, that person. When I think when they say, when two or more people come together, God is there, and I think it's not only that; it's the power. When two or more people are together, they have an amazing power that no one can stop. And so that's why the devil wants to keep everybody separated, wants to have all this strife and all these things between all the relationships, whether it's business, whether it's your wife, your children. He's trying to separate everybody because that's how he's going to conquer, is through separation.
So true, sir. So true. Separation. Just like in the world today, blacks against whites, Asians against Jews. I mean, it's just that's how they keep us separated, because they know together we're powerful. We're powerful.
Totally.
Very powerful.
Stop us.
Yeah.
Ms. We're Williams? Very powerful, and we have seen it over the course of the U.S. history, where together we have become stronger and stronger and stronger. And yet, right now, there is strife because the devil is trying to divide us more and more. And it doesn't matter whether it's husband and wife or what the combination is, but yes, two or more people gathered together increases the strength of everyone in the group.
Yeah. Division. He's a master division. Going along that basis on page 130, the second answer, it says, when you and your wife begin to combine your two brains, is what you both just got finished saying, through your habits of masterminding. I'm going to repeat that. Masterminding every day, you stumble upon the secret power with which you force me into this confession. Because he knows how powerful a man and woman can be together as one. That's powerful. You guys want to come? I mean, I love that. And it talks about down there a little further, says the Bible, which says substantially, when two or more meet together and ask for anything in my name, it shall be granted. It's true. Wow, he even admits that's true.
Yes.
I'm gonna run over to page 131. You guys can comment on this. Well, since we already gave a comment on that one, all successful attempts to break the habit of drifting must be done before naturally making the habits permanent through hypnotic rhythm. In other words, once you start doing it over and over, it becomes part of your everyday daily MO. And he wants to break you from that. He doesn't want you to have that, because you're going to break his habits off of you if you get in the daily MO, and you won't drift as much at all.
Absolutely. There is nothing more powerful than consistency. And they say it takes 21 days to create a habit. But I will tell you this, if you aren't constantly working on that, you can lose that habit in 5 or 7 days by just stopping and doing it. It's like in the 1840s, they were expanding into the western part of the U.S. And as they came across Nevada, they left marks in the desert that are still there 175 years later from those wagon wheels going. That's how powerful being committed can be, being consistent in what you do, is that you have to keep building that groove every day in your life to overcome everything that comes at you.
Yeah. Very good.
And as you pattern and build those habits day after day, they grow and they grow. And it gives you the encouragement to build more habits and more positive habits, and habits grow on themselves, so that before you know it, it becomes an automatic habit in a positive way, not a negative way. And not being lazy, not watching TV, picking up the book and reading the book, even if it's 2 pages a day to start with.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. On page 132, they asked the devil about the thought. The Bible says, whatever a man sows, he shall also reap. And the devil answered this question. He says, that statement is true. Even he knows it's true. Mr. Myers?
It is true, because we are all a product of our actions and what we do. And so if we do nothing, we're going to achieve nothing. If we're not out there doing the things every day that we want to make us successful, whether that's talking to people, whether that's doing your job correctly, whether that's investing, whatever it is, you can never achieve anything that you don't do. And so that's where you're planting those seeds. Some will grow, some won't. But at the end, if you do enough of it, you will get to where you want to go.
Wow. Good one. Miss Williams?
And all it takes is a seed as small as a mustard seed to keep something growing, and you get more to reap. And the more you reap, the more you harvest.
And the more you harvest, the more you can give, the more you give, the more you can give, and the more you keep harvesting. And it just goes back and it grows into abundance, above and beyond, shaking down, putting together. I love it. Okay, I'm going to go to the last one here on page 133 of our chapter here. And the devil was asked the question. He says this, we're all where we are and what we are because of our own deeds. And the devil answered, no, not exactly. You are where you are and what you are because of your thoughts and your deeds. Wow.
That is very true. That is very true. And powerful. And I think it's really powerful because that tells you have 100% control over where you're going and what you're doing. The people you want to serve, the things you want to achieve, the changes you want to make in your world, the things that are held precious to your heart. And so through that, we all have a lot of roads we can take. There's a million whys in the road. The thing that I would say is that when you take that, make sure you take the one that is less traveled, the one that looks like it's going to be harder, because the one that looks easy is the one that takes you into the abyss, that you never really get to go where you want to go. Because life is about living, and part of living is going through those hardships and things to get to where you really want to go. And at the end of that, you will really create the person, the being, the impact that you've always wanted to make. And I think that is way above monetary. That is actually spiritual to me.
Very spiritual. Yes, sir.
Go as far as you can go, and you can see further. Go to that hilltop, and there's another hilltop higher that you can either see further down the road. And it's those hilltops that help you grow. Yes, there are going to be those valleys, but those hilltops is what you're always after.
Wow. Thank you guys for this tonight. And the latter part of the book, it talks about the term luck and miracle are twin sisters. Luck spells L-U-C-K, laboring under correct knowledge. And miracles, we see miracles every day. If you live on a farm, you definitely see them every day. I want to thank our audience around the world listening tonight. I want you guys to leave a comment as we did this tonight. Some of you left comments. Some of you hit the subscribe button. Please send this out to people. It'll be posted. We thank everybody tonight. We hope you got a blessing out of it. We'll be back next Monday night with chapters 7, 8, and 9. So if you got the book, or go get the book, Outwitting the Devil, and get a hold of it. Read it with us. Go through it with us. Comment next week. Join the book review. It's powerful. Call All Things Business Book Review, because reviewing things that will help us grow and grow and grow. So in closing, Mr. Bob Myers, we have a few words to say in closing, and then we'll ask Miss Kathryn Williams for a few words in closing.
I do, actually. I mean, I think I mentioned this last week, but what I love about being part of the book review is that I actually have to go back through and rethink this book as I'm going through it. And the nuggets that I've gotten and the clarification that has come from it is amazing. Even as I write some of my notes, I look back at it and I go, wow, I didn't even get that until I noticed it. So I highly recommend everybody get the book. Be on next week to get more reviews, and do that yourself. Take the next 3 chapters and review it yourself and put notes in there. I guarantee you're going to be forever blessed by doing that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is so good, because I know I've highlighted mine with a highlighter. I've been rabbit ears back. I go back and reread today, but an hour or two before this call, I went back through the chapters again and reread some other things that I wanted to highlight, but I had enough on my plate, but I'm going to read them a little later this evening. Folks, start stepping out to better yourself by reading. Leaders are readers. Mm-hmm. And this book club, we're having it because all things business book review, because we want to give you books that has touched other people's lives. You'll see it posted here on the channel where you can go get the book Outwitting the Devil and join us next week and get your own reading. Follow us through the pages because I call out each page we're going through. There might be something that touched your life, your heart between now and then. So pick it up, read the other chapters, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, 6, and then like I say, 7, 8, and 9 is next week. Get your copy and follow us, learn, stretch, always be learning. Remember this, school is never out for the professional. Let me tell you something. The more I learn I don't know. And I'm learning all the time. Miss Kathryn Williams, give us a few words in closings there.
One of the things I've done throughout this book as I've done it is that I'll read the book, then I'll go back to the audio and I'll have the book and the audio together. Then I go back and just listen to the audio because I know there's things I'm missing no matter which way I do it, but I pick up more and more. Mm-hmm. And my brain is just expanding because of this book.
Now, let me ask you both this question. It sounds like you both, like myself, I have the audio as well. You guys both got the audio? Tell the difference in the audio and what the book, what does the audio sound like? And so we've got listeners that haven't got the book or get the book and then hear the audio go, oh my God, the audio is, tell us about the audio. What do you?
Boy, the audio really, it immerses you. You feel like you're right in the room with him interviewing the devil. And whoever does the devil part does a fantastic job. I give them 10 stars. They are amazing. And like I say, it helps relate. And you catch things like Miss Williams says, you catch things that you don't when you're reading. And it offers that emotional side that you don't get from the book, especially from the devil's perspective. And even the authors, sometimes you can tell he's kind of a little bit like, really, you're going to tell me that? You're going to say that? And it is powerful. You've got to get it. You've got to get it.
You've got to get it because the two of them together, yes, you can pick up the authors saying, I'm going to do it anyway. And the devil says, I dare you to. It's almost as though they're challenging each other in a way to grow themselves. The author is growing, but he's forcing the devil to give him the information he wants. And
not only that, he's forcing the devil to tell all his secrets, how he's holding us back. Yeah. And you'll, ladies and gentlemen, honestly, you'll see yourself in some of this stuff they talk about. Yeah. And I have a lot of audio. I when I get a book, I usually get the audio as well. This book and this audio is like no other audio I've ever listened to in my life. And I've got a lot of audios. But that, whoever the devil is on here, I don't know what a devil sounds like. But boy, if I have to vote, he would be here. He's a devil. I mean,
he's a devil.
Yeah, it's eerie as all get up. So don't get me. It's eerie. I'm warn you now. It's eerie. You'll never hear audio like this one because it is eerie, and he do a very imitation of what a devil would sound like. I would think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have to agree 100%.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, listen to the audio, and as well as get the book. And I tell you what, be back with us next Monday and join us and chime in and follow it with your book and learn because that's what it's all about, learning. Remember, the more I learn I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen around the world, we want to thank you tonight for joining our call, All Things Business Book Review. We want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank Mr. Myers up in Reno, Nevada. I want to thank Ms. Kathryn Williams tonight for joining us from Sacramento, California. And I want to thank all you folks from around the world, around the globe, watching and listening in different countries and different states. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll see you back here next Monday with chapters 7, 8, and 9. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. And don't forget to subscribe.